Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Tuesday, August 10th, and we've got some exciting stuff to talk about today. Some more news creeping out of the infrastructure bill, some interesting price action as well. But as always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts, CJ Reichel and Jon, Dr. Crypto Najarian. How are you guys doing on this lovely Tuesday morning?
Doing pretty well, Monty. I was happy to see Bitcoin break 46 yesterday, and it's not much below that now. It's a little bit of a break. It's 45.5 roughly. So a lot of those stocks that we talked about yesterday, like Riot Blockchain that CJ identified for unusual activity, and Mara as well as Voyager, all of them held on to the bulk of those gains, which was nice to see as well.
Yeah, I'm doing good as well, Monty. Thanks for that. Just had some news as well from Jon's buddy at CNBC, Mr. Kevin O'Leary. Mr. Wonderful entered into a long-term partnership with the exchange FTX. Some more of the, old folks from traditional finance moving into crypto investments even further. So I like that one. And hopefully it works out very successful and very fruitful for Mr. Wonderful. But great price action all across the space. And I'm looking forward to getting into the weeds of it with you gentlemen here today.
Yes. Speaking of that price action, CJ, should we hop right into it? Because like Jon said, Bitcoin broke above 46K, something we haven't seen in a very long time. A bit of a prompt rejection, but what are you seeing? I know you've been talking a lot about your Wyckoff accumulation cycle and kind of how this price action has been phasing into that. Is this something that, you're continuing to watch? Do you think we're still kind of headed in that accumulation channel?
Yes, I think we're set for kind of a neutral to sideways consolidation here, above the 200-day moving average being at roughly 45K. I think if we hold that level, things are going to be very promising for the future. Tom Lee came out yesterday and was talking a lot about research that Fundstrat had published and had conducted around a potential peak in the Delta variant of COVID. And so if we truly do get a peak here in the next week or so, it could lead to a pretty explosive rally, not only in the tech stocks, not only in kind of traditional equities, but say we go back into that risk on type environment, I think crypto is going to do phenomenal. So I definitely think we could consolidate here at this level at the 200 moving average before surging higher into the 50s throughout, later on in August and early September.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And Jon, I want to get your opinion. We talked a lot yesterday about Riot and Mara, like you said, and those performed very well. They were the first two tickers on the UOA board yesterday. Have you been watching those at all, and how do you expect them to kind of perform as this week progresses?
Well, I anticipate, and it's already sort of playing out here, that they'll get some pressure because the Senator Schumer in the Senate, as you guys know, cut off any future debate. And the thing that crypto people care about is that part of that debate was centered around some of the senators who know what the hell's going on in crypto, like Ted Cruz, but he's one of maybe 5 or 6. and those that don't know anything about it and just want to tax it. And in particular, want to put an onus, a responsibility on not just miners who don't know who their counterparty is. They know the identifier of that coin, but they don't know that CJ or Monty or John owns it. They're not required to. There is no AML KYC in that. So there's an onus, a burden, I'll call it, I guess, placed on many folks that are developers, miners, and so forth that doesn't exist right now. I think it'll be bad for crypto. The good news, guys, is that, of course, anything good or bad that passes in the Senate has to pass the House as well. And even though the Senate cuts off debate, that doesn't mean it won't be changed when it gets to the House. So there's a lot of money, as usual with bills, being spent on lobbying. And crypto was late to the lobbying party for this bill, but I don't think they'll be late for the bill going through the House. And again, it has to pass both. So short term, Monty, it's a great question by you. I think that Mara and Riot and Voyager probably to some extent will experience some pressure ahead of the vote today, because the vote is supposed to occur today in the Senate. But then as cooler heads prevail and they realize that this is not law yet, and that this is just a provision in the Senate bill that could easily be stripped out, because again, 28 billion, when they're looking at the possibility not just of the trillion in this bill, but the up to 3.4 trillion in the next bill. I think, that $28 billion over several years is the pimple on the butt of an elephant. It's not going to do anything, but it would hurt, as we went and the three of us said yesterday. It would hurt development of digital fintech in our country, and that's why we all hope it doesn't happen.
And I think you made an interesting point there, John, about kind of what may happen after we get some more clarity here. I completely agree with you. I think that, right now we're seeing a bit of suppression in some of those assets as we head into this vote. But what may happen after, and this is what a lot of people on Twitter have been anticipating too, is that once we get some clarity and people realize that, the effects of this infrastructure bill will not be as profound as, they really did fear, a lot of these assets could rally very strongly to the upside. So, in picking my dojos of the day over the last week, I've been looking for assets that, are showing a very strong negative divergence and are kind of yet to rally with the rest of the market, because I feel like a lot of people, retail traders and institutional traders, are sitting on the sidelines right now, just waiting for that regulational clarity that we may get today following the vote.
I would agree. There's definitely a lot of sidelined capital due to the fact that emotions are high. They've been high all this week throughout the crypto space. Many have called this potential bill catastrophic on what it would bring for crypto. And so that ensues a lot of fear in kind of the average holder. I mean, I've seen it myself firsthand. But I think once we get a lot of clarity, like what Monty is talking about, not only around the bill, but also around the Delta variant, and seeing if we truly do peak this week or next week, that's going to provide a lot of bullish price action likely for the market. And in the interim, I don't think it's too unreasonable to expect some chop. Bitcoin's up over 50% in this month. And so, it's going to be very interesting. And we have to be patient until those kind of uncertainties pan out.
Yeah, speaking to that point, CJ, would you mind pulling up the Bitcoin chart and just going over with us what you're seeing technically? Because, we crossed that 46K threshold, and now we're putting in, some pretty strong levels of support to the downside. I'm curious to just hear your thoughts on what you're seeing in the chart, and if you do, expect maybe a retest of that simple moving average as support, or if you think that, maybe we're just kind of headed along the path to the upside.
Yes, well, if we do view the chart right here, there's quite a bit of support, not only around 40K, but also from kind of these Fibonacci levels. Like I had said previously at the start of the show, like I do believe that we will likely hold this moving average. I mean, the 200-day is very significant. I'll bring up another statistic in just a moment that's pretty interesting regarding the 200-day moving average, but we are consolidating there. This is like a metric that a lot of funds look at to determine kind of an entry point and when we are officially back into a bull market. So let me go ahead and bring up a stat on Bitcoin as well. So these are the 6-month forward returns with Bitcoin above the 200-day and below the 200-day. So this is a very significant move if we can hold and consolidate above this level and potentially push higher into the 50s. So I think a lot of larger institutional investors with a longer term time preference are definitely looking at this particular metric. So
Interesting stuff there, CJ. I think that, watching that Bitcoin chart is going to be very important. We talk about it all the time, how sort of Bitcoin can be a real leading indicator for a lot of other assets. We've actually seen ETH kind of run up to an even greater extent than Bitcoin. A lot of that has to do with the London hard fork and what that has meant for, the supply and demand dynamic of ETH. Anything in the ETH technicals that you're seeing that are kind of different or worth noting when compared to the Bitcoin chart?
yes, let's take a quick look. Because you're right, ETH has been stronger. And I think the thing that's driving price action the most is like what you mentioned, Monty, the demand and supply dynamics within the market right now. Because I've said this before, but when you look at an analysis kind of like you say 15, head and shoulders pattern to 15K on Bitcoin, like there's not really an analysis of the actual supply and demands. There's not enough open supply to really go to that price level without, a catastrophic black swan event. But in terms of ETH, I mean, we've been in ahead of the 200-day moving average for quite some time now. In fact, we got so ahead of it just because Ethereum spiked that we never were truly below it for that long. And it actually served as a pretty good support level as we had put in this W pattern and bottomed. Now it's really about just consolidating above these critical levels and holding them for potentially the next week before a push higher. Of course, we could break some of these critical levels and regress to the moving average. Nonetheless, I still think that would be healthy for the overall trend and could even present, a nice support level for further accumulation before, a test up. I don't think we're going to do that, but those are kind of the proposed levels here if we are to see a breakdown in support and, maybe an overreaction to the infrastructure bill or whatnot. But that is what I'm seeing on the ETH charts. Still pretty neutral to bullish as of now.
Yeah, CJ, I was having a conversation with a few members in the room last night about that ETH chart and kind of how, it is showing a pretty significant positive divergence from that smooth moving average that you just pointed out. But I am very encouraged by the fact that it's turning up and now creating new potential support going forward if we do get some negative news coming out in the coming weeks. So ETH has just been absolutely ripping. And I think as a result, we're going to see a lot of altcoins just absolutely tearing it up over the next few weeks. So without further ado, should we hop into our doges of the day, gentlemen? Because I think we're going to have some profitable ones over the next month or so.
Well, and I'll jump in with you, but I just wanted to throw one more out there, Monty, because it's kind of big news from PayPal, which I've given Jack Dorsey a lot of credit because I think he deserves it over at Square with Cash App and developer, Bitcoin developer space. But Venmo, which is, of course, PayPal, is going to allow credit card holders to automatically buy cryptocurrency with their cash back. So what that means is, for instance, folks, that if you are using a credit card and getting 2% cash back, that you could say every month I want regular purchase. Instead of getting the 2% cash back in US dollars, I want it to go into cryptocurrency, any of the cryptocurrencies that Venmo supports. Also, very interesting way of expanding the pie and bringing more people in and giving them, training wheels, if you want to call it that, because, even people that buy a lot with their credit card, we're not talking about a Bitcoin a month. unless you're, running a Fortune 500 company on your American Express or something like that. You're probably, your cash back reward is probably measured in the hundreds or perhaps thousands of dollars a year. So you break that down by month, and much smaller, amounts per month. Say if it was $100 a month, $1,200 a year, that's baby steps into crypto. And again, the wider that you can cast this net, the better that it's going to be in terms of an ecosystem for everybody. So I thought that was pretty big news.
Yeah, that's interesting, John. And you also have to consider, I have made some purchases on the Stormex app, and you get crypto back for that. At the time, you're right. It's not very much crypto. What you get in a month is like I got maybe $15. But then Stormex went from 2 cents to 8 cents, so that cash back became a lot more significant real quick. So it's pretty cool to get your cash back in crypto because you can sometimes get some positive vol there.
Absolutely. And, hopefully people find that it makes them a little more money than just getting that, like I said, $100 if it's $100 in a month. I think, if you had 100 and you're not just picking, and of course, Venmo doesn't support a lot of crap coins anyway. But if you're picking Ethereum or Bitcoin or, one of the big names, I think you'd be happily surprised to see what the returns would be like, in particular because you're doing not so much dollar cost averaging, but you're just in every month, which more or less most people that are long-term investors should look at, is doing regular monthly, because then you're not just going to be at the whims of the market. Again, to yesterday's point, we fell from 65 on April 14th, roughly 65,000, down to 29,000. A lot of people that thought that they would buy on that dip didn't. Anybody who did is already up 50% right now on that. And I'm, of course, speaking about Bitcoin. So probably done enough speaking about that today, but I just think it's a good thing.
Agreed. So CJ, how about you start us off with your Doge or Doges of the day, knowing you, whichever.
Yeah, I still encourage you guys to check out Monday's episode and that kind of short list of 5 or 6 assets we discussed. But I think they've been performing pretty decently well. I mean, the overall market has been performing pretty well, but that general setup that we tried to locate with those assets it's performed pretty promisingly in this general overall market increase. But to get to the Doge of the day, and mine specifically here, I want to start off with Luna, which is no surprise. This one has been one of the top performers throughout our recent uptrend. And it looks like we're getting a decent bull flag here. But I do expect, if we break this critical level here, to make new all-time highs on Luna at roughly $22 in the coming weeks when we talk about Bitcoin potentially going to the 50s towards the later half of August and then possibly into early September. So I think Luna is a really prime candidate for that. Remember, we want to long the strong ones in a bull market and short the weak ones in a bear market, and this one has definitely been showing strength. One that might be a little bit of a laggard that I think has some potential is Band Protocol, and I'll show you in a minute, but I think Band Protocol is basically right here when compared to Luna's current price action. And you'll see what I mean when I go to the band chart in just a moment here. But you can see we're just barely above that moving average, but we're getting a bullish engulfing candle and a continuation with some pretty solid volume. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Band rallies in a similar fashion as Luna throughout kind of these coming weeks and potentially into the later half of August. I like that setup. I like the higher lows. I like the higher highs. And definitely going to be watching Band. I mean, it's come down so far, and we never formed any type of support during this mass stage of capitulation. So that's one I'm going to be watching. And my Doges are Luna and Band for today.
Very nice. Yeah, it's crazy how much Luna gave up, but how quickly it kind of gained it right back over the last month. Just been an absolute, powerhouse, even amidst some market weakness. I will give you my Doge of the day today. It is a bit different. It's one I haven't picked in quite a while, actually. But the reason I like it is because I saw a nice uptick in volume yesterday. And I think that, for my Doge of the day, which is UMA, I think it's just encouraging to see an asset getting above that 20 periods smooth moving average, still showing a strong negative divergence from the simple moving average all the way up here at $18. And also we're getting that nice uptick in volume that, is kind of indicative of finding that market bottom. So UMA's looking good. It's looking like it could make a very strong run up here to $18. Like CJ said, these things just kind of negatively diverge so hard from the moving average during this sell off that now they have a lot of ground to gain. And I think they can do it very quickly, given the overall market strength we're seeing. So yesterday for me was a precursor of what's to come in the next coming days for UMA, because we just saw a tremendous uptick in volume, very strong green candle, kind of confirming that we are above this moving average. And as a result, over the next couple of days, because of this candle, the 20 simple period or smooth moving average is going to begin turning up. And I really like the chances for a continuation up to this previous level. And from here, there is basically no resistance until the previous all-time high levels of about 26. So I really like what I'm seeing from UMA, and I think that this over the next month could be a very strong performer. So I actually went ahead. Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and put in a buy order as soon as we're done filming this episode.
Well, I'm going to throw one out quickly, guys. Tezos, XTZ. That's XTZ. And the reason is volume's up 30% in the last 24 hours. Stock had, or the coin had been in May a $7.50 number. No, you're not getting it at the lows of 215 that it hit in the middle of July. And it's come off of there. But I think you can have a nice trade here. In particular, if you watch it over the next few days and you're able to get it below 320, that's great. But in the meantime, I think we don't have any real resistance until we get to about 380. So that's my trade today, XTZ, Tezos.
There you have it, folks. I think that's about all we got for today. So as always, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring this show. If you want to get started trading cryptocurrencies, head over to Voyager, where you can trade 60 plus assets commission free. You can check them out over at investvoyager.com. And while you're over there and signing up, use code REBEL25. You can get $25 in free Bitcoin when you sign up at Voyager using the code REBEL25. And last but certainly not least, if you want to hang out in the crypto room, hang out with CJ and I, talk crypto any time of the day or night, you can try it for just $1 for the first month at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. We got a pro charting service, 24/7 chat with traders from all around the world. We publish actionable trade insights with entries, exits, stop losses, news articles, and we have an ever-expanding education curriculum with lots of great courses that teach you how to use the tools in our room. So definitely go check that out. You can try it out for just $1 for your first month. But thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And we will see you again tomorrow.
Mañana.